We do have people coming in, so welcome everybody to Around the Product Development, our weekly series where we deep dive into world of digital product creation, and this is all in just 25 minutes. Here we explore every stage from ideation to conversion and monetization, providing you with actionable insights and practical knowledge. Each week, we bring you fresh perspectives from industry experts, giving you the opportunity to learn directly from their hands-on experience. All this is possible thanks to our Agile Product Builders community, which is a Slack community powered by Boldare, digital product creators and consultants. And today we're diving into a crucial topic for growing SaaS companies, actually, which is the product roadmap management. As most of you probably know, managing a product roadmap is never easy, especially as your company scales and customer demands evolve. So how do you balance long-term strategy with short-term execution, or how do you keep your backlog focused on what actually truly matters? And when does it make sense to bring in external support, perhaps, and help to actually unpack these questions? I'm joined today by Allan Wilson, CEO of TeamAlert, a company specializing in security solutions that literally saves lives. Allan brings a wealth of experience in leading product development while also running a business, making him, I believe, the perfect guest to discuss the challenges and best practices. As we said, no fluff, just hands-on experience about roadmap management for growing software as a service companies. So, hello, Allan. If you could just briefly introduce yourself and the TeamAlert, I would appreciate it. And then we'll start. How does that?
Sure. Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for having me. Great to be here. My name's Allan Wilson. We're based here in the Southeast United States. We've been in business for about 9 years now. We've got customers all across the U.S. and in 5 additional countries. And we essentially have a panic button solution that helps customers connect their computers, cell phones, and hardware devices to the cloud and let others know when they need assistance. So originally it was developed for like an active shooter type situation. And it's kind of since there, from getting feedback from our customers, we've raised in the ability to have custom alerts, and now customers create it for all types of things. One of the biggest things that we've grown at is getting feedback from the customers and trying to develop something that they want. And that's been exciting and fun to hear how much better it makes them feel.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, and I was really privileged to, be observer of your path, starting with some kind of prototypes, MVPs, then be scaling up, focusing more on the enterprise clients. But I do have one first question for you, which is, as a founder and CEO, managing multiple aspects of the business is a daily stuff, right?
Yep.
How do you balance managing product development with other responsibilities you 100% have? How much of your involvement is necessary to provide this, effective product roadmap execution, discovery, and delivery?
Yeah. In the beginning, we were very focused on minimum viable products. It was getting that first product out. So I'd say it was a lot of product development in the very beginning. Once we kind of got that out and could get feedback from the customers, we kind of morphed into a more sales focused, and then we would get feedback from our customers from that sales side and bounce back to product development. Did I lose you there for a second? Sorry about that.
Yes,
But basically, so we would cycle, and then as the products got a little bit larger, we got more customers, increased revenue. We were able to shift over to more of a full-time development model, which is kind of where we're at now. And so we've got the development team working in the background, and we're able to keep them engaged in continuing to develop the product. But in the beginning, it was a lot, and then it moved over to focusing more on sales and marketing, figuring out how to connect this product that we had built with our customers, trying to fill that need.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100% sure. I mean, this is the toughest part of our job, right? Not to only build something, but to build something that actually fits the market and answers your current customers' needs, right? The landscape, it fits into it. But just follow up on this one. How do you balance? Because you said you put a bet at first, right? So you said let's develop something. You did have a scope. You provided with some, I mean, like collaborative. You work on some backlog together. And how do you balance the data-driven decisions with your? I believe you're the expert of the field, right? So
Right,
how do
right,
you
right.
balance that with the gut instinct you 100% had with
Yeah.
validating these product ideas? Did you have some, intuition, or maybe another question?
Yeah.
What
Well,
do
I
you
mean,
think? This
yeah,
is
I think I
go
know what
go
you're
go
saying
go.
off of it. Yeah, is like, and that, what we originally thought would be the way the product works, it morphed into something different. And so,
Mm-hmm.
originally we thought it would be more of a community-based product where organizations close to each other could use it to notify each other. And so we built the product that way and marketed and sold it that way. And once we got it into a few customers' hands and we started getting feedback from them, it was not the way they thought about it. They thought about using it more internal. So they wanted to use
Mm-hmm.
it with their staff and keep the communications and things they were saying private to them. And so they weren't really working with those other community members. And so it's that combination of, and I think you can get stuck in that rut. We had some hard discussions in the beginning about, do we want to pivot or do we want to stay what we think is the right thing? And at the end of the day, we pivoted because you're trying to match a need, and we couldn't really find a need that would make the revenue that we needed with that other business model. It was a good idea, but if customers aren't willing to pay for it, you can't turn it into a real product. And so in our case, from that feedback from our customers, we expanded on that internal communication and we created a chat room that once you raise an alert, you go into that chat room that's secure and private to your organization that lives just during that event. And they can all communicate with each other. And our customers love that feature.
Yeah, great to hear that. You just mentioned that you had this pivot, kind of rethinking stage about the team's alerts roadmap, right? Could you actually point out some, leading indicators that pushed you to make the decision? Was it more about the metrics or more about the intuition or the feedback itself? Where was the
Yeah.
balance here?
Yeah, and I've got an engineering background, so I'm very data driven kind of in general. But being the leader off of it for that side, you kind of develop an intuition with things. So I'd say it was a mixture, a combination. In the beginning, I'd say it starts intuition. You start to realize that it feels like you're pushing upstream versus going downstream. The current's kind of
Hmm.
going against you. And then that kind of, in our case, caused us to start looking at the data. So, like, what's the data points we need to look at? How many more conversations do we need to have to confirm maybe some thoughts that we're beginning to have? So I would say it starts intuition and kind of leads more into the data. And I think at the end of the day, at least for me, the data is what usually informs my decisions.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more actually. Uh, how about the product management here? Do you think a dedicated product owner or product management, as I mentioned, is always necessary, or can a founder as yourself effectively manage the backlog and the roadmap and partners collaboration, etc.?
Yeah, we've done a bunch of different variations off of that. And in the beginning, a lot of times, when you're doing minimum viable product, you don't have customers, you don't have a whole lot of revenue. You've got a
Yeah.
set amount of runway. You kind of are forced to a lot of times off of that. And I will just say, I think if you've got a technical founder, you can. But realistically, with everything that you're juggling, I don't think it's the best, most effective use of your time. Um,
Hmm.
re- at the end of the day, I kind of believe, even though I'm an engineering background, finance is what drives everything. Revenue and looking at the numbers is usually really where the leader needs to be, and vision where we're
Mm-hmm.
going in the future, taking that data and deciding where to deploy your financial assets to best move the company forward. And so when you get
Mm-hmm.
stuck, in the technical product development portion of it, it can use a lot of that. So, at times we've had to lean on that, but realistically, I think it's best to outsource. You need to be involved with it, but somebody else needs to manage that whenever you can, whenever you're able to do that.
Yeah, I got you. And yeah, it just gets messy with every single step ahead of you, right? And did you actually notice particular stage or particular, point at time or software development lifecycle, maybe stage, uh, when actually you become, or the thought became unsustainable for the founder to manage the product alone?
Yeah.
And there were some indicators that our audience may look for, be aware of.
Yeah, for sure. To me, if I had to guess, it's probably in the middle of like the product fit stage. And so
Mm,
like in the beginning, you got the minimum viable product, you don't have many customers, revenue is really low. If you've got investors, you're mainly talking to them, but you can there's not as many moving parts, and you can see in the future a little bit better. And then as you start to have product market fit and these customers start coming on board faster, you start to get pulled. And so
mhm,
this group of customers want this feature, this group of customers want this feature. And for us, once we kind of started to find our target markets and
mhm,
to get that marketing to speak to them, and they started coming in quicker, you know from a leadership side of thing, at that point I really started having to focus on resources and revenues more. And so that's whenever we really had to kind of I had to hand that piece off for sure, and it made more sense. Before that, it would have been a nicety, but I think, once you kind of hit that, you're beginning probably the very beginning stages of scaling. You just start to have more problems that you have to focus on.
mhm. Yeah, 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 definitely. And the product management part is not the only part that could actually be outsourced, right? Uh,
Yeah.
could you give us some example, like what parts of software development on TeamAlert was, partner with, for example, Boulder? He is from the history. And this is the first question. And the second one, of course, about the metrics, the indicators. What's the go, no-go decision point kind of to even consider partnering with an external technology provider, just to, keep things effective, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, I think outsourcing, using Boldare has been really beneficial just because that's what you specialize in. And it's been amazing at how current they're able to keep us with the trends that are kind of coming in. For example, like some of these new AI features that people are looking at. Realistically,
Hmm.
we're focused on how can we make this button better, and we're not thinking about those things. So by having a partner that's a separate organization that's looking at things from focus strictly on what's the best programming we can kind of bring into it, they keep us more current. Things that I don't think we would be able to look at as well off of it from that side of things. So I think there's a huge benefit from that side. Also gives you a lot of stability, and um, there's always turnover, vacation management, all those sorts of things. And as a company, we get to just focus on the product, and Boulder is able to take care of
Hmm.
it from that side. And then there's the additional projects. So, this is my first time leading something that's, going through like scaling like it is. And so
Hmm.
I had to do a lot of education on product market fit, and, how really I had a hard time like focusing in on one vertical. I really just,
Hmm.
as an engineer, just was like more is better. And doing some individual projects with Boldare, of helping to educate me on that, and what they had seen in other projects that had done that had been really beneficial for me. And so getting feedback from customers. Boldare really helped us to
Mhm.
learn good ways to kind of get feedback from customers, and that was another good learning experience. It was more effective than the ways we had been doing it.
Yeah, it's great to hear that. Appreciate it. And from the other hand, because I believe Boulder or any other partner you may actually, imagine collaborating with, probably, as you said, indicate some good aspects, some let's say positives. And are there any red flags should our audience watch for when selecting a partner?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely the biggest thing that I would just say is that at the beginning of a relationship, and then as you
Hmm.
meet those goals, you should establish goals. And, every time in the beginning, we were not as smart at the beginning part of that 9 years as I feel like we've gotten now. We'll probably hopefully get a little bit smarter. But, if you when you start that relationship, you need to have clearly defined goals with where you're going to get to with that partner and what you're
Hmm.
going to do if it doesn't get there. Because unfortunately, there's quite a few times that you run into roadblocks. All of this is hard and complicated. And so you need to talk about that at the beginning of the relationship versus whenever it gets difficult. And that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned over time is to just have really clearly established guideposts in
Hmm.
real conversations about where we're at in regarding to that and what are we going to do. And it
Yeah.
seems like everybody's real, um, you can keep everything positive even if you're in a negative situation because everybody's trying to overcome the problem versus focused on how to keep from losing the relationship. You're having a more positive conversation when you do it that way.
Yeah, definitely. And keeping things transparent on the way, even
Right.
when the things get messy, rocky on the way. This is the key, right? The cornerstone of such a effective relationship. But yeah.
Yeah, I think,
And
yeah, I was just to add to that, I would just say you're seeing the problem coming versus
mm,
reacting to the problem 30, 60 days after it happens. And that's
exactly.
what takes the stress kind of out of it, is being able to see that problem kind of coming. And it's been really helpful for us.
Yeah, exactly. And depending, let's say, on the contract type, depending on what, let's say, stage of software development life cycle that the partner joins in, that the team composition may vary, right?
Right.
Do you have something that it's preferable in your side? Like, what is the best team composition you've worked so far with? Do they provide only, as we covered, product management aspects or engineering part or the combination of both? What's your approach on this one?
Yeah, I mean, the beginning part I'll say with a smile, which is more's better. The bigger the team you can put together, you've got each team member has their own experiences and their own
Mm,
background. And so when you run into problems, it seems to make the problems go faster. And so I will say that the faster you can get to, at least a minimum group size, that group thinking really helps. Um, in addition to that, I would say that you need to like try to get to a core team of how you can keep it sustained movement. That way, in the very beginning, we had such a small team, we were having to do like hopping, I'd almost say. Like we would pull in specific engineers for certain points, and
hmm.
the loss of efficiency that you get because of that actually makes things a lot more expensive.
Hmm.
And so I just say as soon as you can get to where you can kind of move consistent. With that said, you've got specialists like we're just doing a refresh of our product now. And that's not something that where we need a designer full time on the team, but we can
Hmm.
pull them in as needed. And so it makes sense.
Hmm.
But you want to have that core development team that you need there. And you kind of want to get there as quick as you can for the efficiency reason, so that you're not wasting your, dollars.
Yeah, yeah, agree. And knowledge management around the product and how it's passed through one team member to another, right? It just keep
Yes.
everybody in loop makes it way easier and, as you said, resource saving.
Yeah.
All
Realistically, you're
right,
going to have turnover. Yeah.
exactly. And how about your experience about, the mistakes you've made on the way, managing this backlog, managing your relationship with your partners? Anything you just, as a kind of lesson learned could give an advice for some companies that are emerging on the market right now, some funders that are listening to us right now? Do you have some?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the biggest thing I would just say is to try whenever, things get really tough, like, like whenever your emotions are starting to get involved off of it.
Mm-hmm.
These companies are small and they move quickly and you get a lot of pressure on you. And the thing that I've kind of really found is to try to take a breath before, really reacting to stuff. And so if I'd say there was a
Mm-hmm.
big difference between me now and me before is pressure just kind of comes with this, but making sure that you try to keep yourself grounded and take a breather
Mm-hmm.
before you have those hard conversations. So like an investor might be going to pull out, or you have your product breaks and you have no idea how you're going
Yeah.
to roll out a fix to every customer you've got. Like all these things are going to happen. And you need to make good long-term decisions and have thoughtful
Mm-hmm.
answers. And so I think it's important to take, the time that you need to get recentered and not react to those things emotionally would probably be my biggest advice for the bad situations. And clear communication. Get feedback from everybody, use the experience of your team and talk through those things, because most of the time somebody will come up with an answer that's way better than you never even thought it could be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So no frameworks, no processes, no tools, just lesson of mindfulness.
Well, I mean, we didn't talk much about tools, but we definitely have tools that are tracking all of this stuff. So,
Yeah.
we use Jira with Boldare to track our tickets and things. And so, making sure that you've got details inside of there. And whenever you come up with those plans, putting them in tickets so that you can see the progress on resolving it.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. All of those things are super important. We didn't really, dive into the details off that, and we definitely can if we have time. But you when you come up with those plans, it's really important to set those metrics in place, and using tools like Jira to have the details for those are key, and so that you can see where things are getting stuck and how to unstick them.
Yeah, exactly. To cascade from these goals you mentioned before, right? As a kind of a beacon we want to follow, and then cascade them through every single action you take on during the development process, right? So every single team member knows exactly what we want to achieve, why we want to achieve, for who we want to achieve. And that it makes way easier the whole process of collaboration, making things clear, transparent, making team motivated on the way around, because there's like the multiple aspects of all this circus.
For sure.
Perfect.
Having a visual
All
tool
right.
like Jira to be able to see those moving through there, so that whenever they get hung on a step is really important off of it. And so, because it'll happen, like people will have personal things going on, they'll have parts that they're not as good at. And so being able to see that where it gets hung is important.
I got you. Yes. And unfortunately, I would love to talk more about how TeamAlert is going on and what's your strategic point of view and where do you actually want to take the company to. But our time's up, and appreciate your time, Allan. Appreciate your being here with me today. Dear audience, if you're interested in joining Agile Product Builders community and still hesitate, do not anymore and do join us. And I would already love to invite all of you to our next episode, which is, as usual, Thursday afternoon, 4 p.m. Thank you. Have a great day, actually. For me, it's a bit of the evening, but yeah, pleasure to have you here.
Thanks. It was great talking. Bye.
Bye.